When you're young, you spend a lot of energy trying to become someone, trying to build a life that others will admire. You want to be successful, you want to be respected, liked, and you want to be impressive. Then, as the years go by, something strange and wonderful happens to your perspective. You get older, and you start wondering why you spent so much energy trying to impress people who weren't even thinking about you. Most people are too busy living their own lives to spend much time judging yours. After 60, life gets better when you finally let certain things go. Today, we explore the 7 psychological burdens you no longer need to carry. Give yourself permission to finally become who you actually are. We begin with the one that steals the most energy, the need for everyone's approval. Let's look at why it's time to put that down. For much of our lives, we learn to look sideways. We wonder, what will they think? Will they approve? Am I successful enough? We spend years allowing the opinions of strangers to control our identity, but age can teach you something that youth rarely understands. The truth is, most people are too busy living their own lives to spend much time judging yours. You don't need everyone's approval to be whole. Healthy relationships still matter, of course, but wisdom is learning to stop caring about the approval of people who don't truly know you. When you let go of that burden, you finally have the energy to focus on what actually matters to you. Your life starts to feel lighter. And that leads us to the second thing we must leave behind. The habit of comparing our lives to everyone else's highlight reels. Comparison is one of the easiest ways to turn a good life into a disappointing one. We look at the neighbor's house, the travel photos, the highlights, and we forget that we're comparing our own backstage struggles to someone else's carefully curated highlight reel. We see the visible, not the invisible. After 60, the question becomes less about whether your life looks impressive to others and more about whether it feels deeply meaningful to you. Because the truth is, enough is a form of wealth that no one else can measure for you. It's the peace that comes when you stop competing. When you let go of the need to compare, you finally have the room to appreciate the unique beauty of the life you've actually built. Now we turn to a burden that quietly drains our emotional energy, the unnecessary need to win every single argument. Some battles are technically winnable and still not worth winning, because being right often comes with a hidden price that we forget to calculate. We win the point, but we lose the peace. We damage the connection, create resentment, and exhaust our own emotional energy for the sake of pride. After 60, you realize that being right is not always worth the cost. Wisdom is learning to value harmony over having the last word. Choosing peace doesn't mean staying silent in the face of mistreatment. It means knowing which hills are actually worth dying on and which ones aren't. Sometimes wisdom is knowing when to speak, and sometimes the greatest wisdom of all is knowing when to let it go. Next, we examine the endless cycle of accumulation and why the pursuit of more can eventually become its own form of weight. There is a point where more stops making life better. We spend decades accumulating possessions, status, larger homes, thinking it leads to happiness. But endless accumulation can become its own form of stress. It requires maintenance, worry, and space, both in our homes and in our minds. After 60, you start to ask, how much do I actually need to feel that my life is enough? Because the truth is, enough is a form of wealth. It's not about irresponsible behavior. It's about intentional consumption. It's choosing quality of life over the quantity of things we own. When you stop chasing more, you finally have the clarity to see the immense value in what you already have. You find freedom in simplicity. Now, we look at the exhausting pursuit of perfection and why a perfect life is rarely the same thing as a happy one. Perfectionism often sounds like ambition. We tell ourselves it's how we show we care, but in reality it's frequently just a way to avoid looking foolish. Sometimes it's just fear wearing a respectable disguise. Fear of making mistakes, losing control, or simply showing the world that we are human. After 60, you realize that a perfectly clean house is far less important than a house where people feel welcome. A perfect life is rarely a happy one. When you let go of the need to be perfect, you create space for the beautiful, messy reality of life. You start choosing connection over control. Happiness doesn't require a flawless presentation. It only requires being present. Give yourself permission to finally be who you actually are. This leads us to perhaps the heaviest burden of all, the mistakes we made years ago. It's time to discuss letting go of old guilt. Some people reach 60 carrying mistakes they made at 25. They replay old conversations, remember failures, and live inside their what-ifs. They punish themselves for decisions they made with the knowledge they had at the time. But the past is a place for lessons, not a home. After 60, wisdom is realizing you can honor your past without living in it. Self-forgiveness is the gift that frees your energy for today. Accepting what cannot be changed allows you to finally put that weight down. You are allowed to be at peace with the person you used to be. When you let go of old guilt, you make room for the wisdom you've earned. You start to see the beauty of the chapter you're in right now. Finally, we come to the hardest thing to let go of, the life you thought you were supposed to live. Let's talk about expectations. Perhaps the hardest thing to let go of is the life you thought you were supposed to live. The career, the house, the expectations of others. But age gives you something youth often lacks: perspective. You are finally allowed to write your next chapter differently, on your own terms. Growing older isn't only about losing things, it's also about losing the things that were never helping you in the first place. Approval, comparison, arguments, more, perfection, guilt, and expectations. 7 weights you are now free to put down. When you let go, you find that happiness isn't about finding something new. It's about finally being free of what you've carried for too long. Now let's look at the final permission you must give yourself, the permission to become who you actually are. Maybe happiness after 60 isn't about finding something you've never had. Maybe it's about finally putting down some of the things you've carried for far too long. The need to impress, the need to compete, the need to prove yourself. You don't have to carry any of that weight into this next chapter of your story. You have spent enough years becoming who everyone else expected you to be. You've earned the right to focus on what matters most. Now, in the quiet space you've created by letting go, give yourself permission to finally become who you actually are. Wisdom is knowing what is worth keeping and what you are finally free to put down. Welcome to your next chapter.